Hello and welcome to AnthroTalk. I'm your host, Jake Slesky. This might be a different setup than you're used to. It might be a different look and feel of the podcast than you're used to. That's because I'm changing things up a little bit. I've been making a ton of political TikToks over the past few months, but I've also really enjoyed interviewing people in the past. I've also really enjoyed talking about culture and society. And so I'm going to combine all those into one thing, one show, one podcast. I'm not too sure what to call it yet. But I'm going to spend the first half of this podcast, the show, whatever you want to call it, talking about news and politics, and the last half talking about culture and society. I got some good stuff prepared. I got DSA doing really well in New York City. I have Trump getting pissed off at that. I have Hunter Biden. I have a political article that really just completely just messes with the concepts of the political spectrum. I have talking about obsession in the culture half, A24 in studios. I have Mark Lee with his weird shirt, K-pop scandal. I have some Google AI overview stuff. So I'm hoping it's going to be a good episode. It might be shorter, it might be longer. I don't know. I'm kind of experimenting as I go along. It's a new synthesis of all of these kinds of things I've really liked doing in the past into one show. And so, with that being said, you guys, let's go try it. Let's have a good time. Let's have fun. And welcome to AnthroTalk. Okay, first up is DSA in NYC, the Democratic Socialists of America in New York City. They've been doing super, super well. They've had 36 wins so far, 36 losses. Not the worst, but in New York specifically, they've been doing pretty well. On Tuesday, June 23rd in New York, they had 20 wins and 9 losses. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good for an insurgent group. But one of the biggest candidates is Darlisa Avila Chevalier. I think I'm saying that right. And she's been getting smeared a lot in the media. She's a Democratic Socialist. She unseated a long-term incumbent, very similar to AOC's story. But some people at Fox News and some centrist Democrats don't really like her website and her policies, because on her website she wants to abolish ICE, she wants to support babies, not bombs, she wants Medicare for all, housing for all, quality education, she wants to fight corporate greed. I mean, this all sounds perfect to me. It sounds like, pretty ideal. But not to everybody. But she did really well. And overall, all these DSA candidates did really well, getting majority of the vote, majority of the vote, majority of the vote. Like, these are like insurgent candidates that are unseating incumbents. Like I said, Darlisa unseated a long-term incumbent and beat him by like 4 percentage points so far. That's pretty decent. But of course, people are mad. What is this toenail ad? But one person that is mad at the Democratic Socialists of America winning is President Trump, who pushed back against communists, saying that America the Beautiful will never be a communist country. Read him and weep, bitch. Guess what? You will have universal health care. You will have universal child care. There will be affordable city-run grocery stores. Your landlord will get sued if they don't maintain the property correctly. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't want universal rights? Too bad. You're going to get them. We will have education cap. Not yet. That comes later on. Don't worry. But these so-called radical policies are just things that are so obvious, everyone. Universal health care, Medicare for all, that would lower the cost of medicine. That would make it affordable for everybody. These policies are so obvious. Babies, not bombs. We're spending $1 billion a day on the Iran war. We could spend the money with universal child care, with health care, with housing, with all this kind of stuff. Fighting corporate greed. We just had our first trillionaire. And that Elon Musk was richer than the next 3 people combined. We need to have comprehensive change here. And these candidates are going to help deliver it. Like them or hate them, these candidates have a better chance of delivering change for the people of New York and for the people of the whole country than any other candidates. And that honestly goes for both like mainstream Democrat candidates like Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, that kind of thing. And also, like I would say, the PSL candidates. I love Ramsey Robinson, candidates like him. I love, some of the policies that PSL advocates for. These other organizations, Marxist-Leninist organizations, they are really putting in the work, and I respect it. But the thing is, at the end of the day, Democratic Socialists are the ones who are actually doing the best for socialism in this country. I mean, nobody has thawed the image of socialism in the minds of Americans as much as Bernie Sanders has in the 21st century, at least. Like, you can't name me a single member of PSL, maybe period, but you can't name me a single member of PSL who has done more than Bernie Sanders help raise Americans' feelings about socialism. It just isn't possible. He's done so much. And yes, you can say that, oh, democratic socialism is a misnomer, but I don't think so. I don't think it actually is. I think that it is strikingly different than social democracy in the sense that they actually do want to have democratic socialism, but it's really hard to advocate for these things when you're, when you're housing insecure. It's hard to advocate for these things. We know of universal health care. If we have universal housing, universal health care, childcare, you'll have so much more energy, energy to be able to dedicate to these causes, as opposed to otherwise. But I don't know. I'm an advocate of left unity. I would vote for candidate of any party if they were an actual socialist. But all that is just to say that DSA is doing real work here. And people, recognize that. I want to talk about Hunter Biden in a second. But Hunter Biden has recognized that he has been giving better political analysis than some mainstream news outlets. He tweeted this, what was it, today, yesterday. He tweeted this yesterday. He said, "I'm not running for office, but if I were, these are some lessons I take away from what happened in NY yesterday in New York." This is Hunter Biden saying this. "Authenticity is measurable. Voters can smell focus group from a mile away. You can tell what candidates are being, are getting all their information from focus groups and polls and consultants and means tested measures. Mallory McMorrow versus Abdul Al-Sayed. It's very clear, and people want authenticity. Endorsements from the current Democratic leadership now read like warnings. The establishment wing of the party is no longer a sword, it's a question mark. If the establishment of the Democratic Party was so good, they would just get voted in office, and the Democrats would never lose an election, ever. But the established Democrats have failed to actually deliver on change, and they've directly led to people like Trump getting elected. Conviction beats caution. Gaza is like a very important litmus test for voters, partially, of course, because of how important it is to stop the genocide in Gaza and deliver humanitarian aid and restore Palestinian statehood. But also, it's a measure of how well you can be honest about hard topics. It's a measure of, are you Islamophobic? It's a measure of are you allowed to talk outside of what interest groups might want you to say? It's a measure of your empathy. It's a measure of your knowledge of foreign affairs. People say it's a litmus test to say that Gaza is a genocide, but it's more of a filter. Because if you don't say that, if you don't recognize that, there's a whole host of other things you probably don't recognize as a politician. Cost of living is everything. Yeah, it's absolutely true. Look, at the end of the day, we can argue about taxes, we can argue about parks, we can argue about high-speed rail, but if people can't pay their bills, and a lot of people are close to not being able to pay their bills, if people can't pay their bills, nothing else matters. If you can't put food on the table, you're not going to care about, issues otherwise, in other places. You might still care about them, but your number one priority is just feeding yourself for the day. The middle is not a strategy, it's an empty room. Voters reach past the establishment to grab someone who actually believes something. Yes, this is so incredibly true because for so long, politicians, consultants, the media, whatever, have been saying that we have to go to the middle. I think after Kamala Harris lost, there was a New York Times op-ed that said, Democrats need to sprint to the middle, as if Kamala Harris didn't talk about how she was going to fund the police more, how she would be tough on Iran, how she has lots of guns and loves them, how she would be tough on illegal immigration. Kamala Harris already sprinted to the middle and past that. She completely ignored legions of her voters, or legions of people who would be her voter base if she just stuck to her beliefs back in 2016, 2020. The middle is not a strategy. There is nothing in the middle, and there isn't even really a middle voter. These policies, Medicare for All is widely popular. Immigration reform is wildly popular. All these progressive policies are actually wildly popular policies. And I'm not even saying that people, there's some silent majority of leftists or something like that. Like how the conservative right will say, oh, most Americans are actually quite conservative. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying that people care about these policies, and these policies are radically popular, and these radically popular policies are radically leftist policies. He goes on to say, don't fear the base, court it. The Democrats who ran from the voters lost. The one who ran toward them won. Yeah, the base is there for you. Don't ignore it. Don't take it for granted. And lastly, if you want to lead a party, if you're willing to fight inside it, Mamdani didn't ask permission. He took the field. This is so true. Mamdani cleared the way. He was very cautious and careful in his maneuvers, but he just went for it, and it won spectacularly. I think it's 3 for 3 in endorsements and winning. The lesson or lessons: the country is tired of being managed. People want to be led. Could have said it better myself, Hunter Biden. And I've actually really liked Hunter Biden for a while, ever since his Channel 5 interview. I watched literally the entire thing. I watched the entire Channel 5 interview, at 10 p.m. one night. Oh, and he's been a pretty cool guy. It seems like a pretty cool I don't want to say redemption story because that implies that he's like a bad person. He's not, but a pretty cool turnaround, and he has some interesting takes.
The other day when Donald Trump pointed to the Declaration of Independence and said, I'm against war. I think we could have saved 600,000 lives in the Civil War.
You look right up there. I don't know. See the Declaration of Independence, and I say, I wonder if the Civil War always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without losing 600,000 plus people.
As if there's a connection between the Declaration of Independence and the Civil War. But can you imagine my dad did that? Can you imagine if he opened up that treaty with the Prime Minister Starmer at the G7 in Canada and all the pages fell out?
There's such a double standard when it comes to how people perceive Trump and Biden. And it's starting to shift now. People see Trump falling asleep at the next game, and they understand that he's actually quite old and quite incompetent. But we've all been saying that since 2016 anyway. But yeah, Hunter Biden's like a cool guy. I didn't think that he would be having these really cool talking points and would be such an interesting guy to talk to. I would love to have him on a podcast sometime. But who's not particularly interesting is Politico. Politico always is kind of, a centrist kind of article. But this title by Politico, centrist Democrats are freaking out about progressives' winning streak. So-called wealth tax costs California more than it raises. That's ridiculous. Anyway, centrist Democrats are freaking out about progressives' winning streak. It's ridiculous. But beside that, this article, I read the whole thing today. I was shocked. But it was really ridiculous because they don't seem to understand what the left and the center and the right are. They go on to say Texas's James Talrico and Iowa's Josh Turk were able to best their more progressive challengers. I don't think Jasmine Crockett was more progressive than James Talrico, to be honest with you. And that's kind of coming clear with the whole Hassan subpoena thing. Schumer told reporters that everyone in the Democratic Party, not just progressives, was on the rise. You're seeing centrist energy in Virginia, Iowa, New Jersey, progressive energy in New York City. We're going to harness it all to win in November because Democrats are united in their mission of taking whatever. Centrist energy isn't really a thing. You don't have energy of, okay, let's not do anything. Let's find the middle ground between, killing 10 babies and killing 0 babies and go forward with that. You just see people who don't like the candidates or who are fear-mongered and vote that way. It is vital that Democrats do not mistake the radicalism of a very small electorate in very blue places with the desire of a large Democratic Party to move sharply to the left. These things are not the same, and Democrats running for president must resist the urge to believe that what they see on social media and a siren song of the DSA and activist left. These policies are radically popular. You gotta just take off the moniker of left, right, and center. Ignore those terms and look at actual policies and popularity of those policies. Medicare for All is radically popular. These policies are actually radically popular. And when you have centrists like Democrats who run on nothing, who run on, we're going to have common sense governance and we're going to oppose Donald Trump. Well, that's a nothing burger. You're offering nothing in that, absolutely nothing, and nothing changes. Then you have a Republican who says, we're going to deport all the immigrants and it's going to free up housing. First of all, that's stupid. That's absolutely stupid of a policy to have. But the voter sees that and sees that the Republican Party is at least offering something. They're offering some relief to them. The Democrats, the centrists, are offering nothing. That's why it's so important to have progressives and leftists running to actually offer things. Like as we were talking about before, Daria Liza offering Medicare for all, quality education, housing for all. You would never see these on, Chuck Schumer's website. You see common sense governance and meeting in the middle and, finding common ground and, delivering on our promises. And these aren't policies. These are mindsets to have. You can have the policy of finding common ground while also supporting Medicare for all. You can have the policy of working across the aisle and having housing for all. In fact, there's a bill that passed that I haven't read too much of the bill, but it aims to do just that. Centrism isn't an ideology; it's a lack of an ideology. Especially in the United States, where Bernie Sanders is center left. He's a moderate leftist. Chuck Schumer is just like a centrist or maybe even center right. Donald Trump is, well, I don't even know if Donald Trump really has any policies, but he's on the right for sure. We don't exist in like a leftist world in the United States. There's no real leftist candidates, none that win elections anyway. Yeah, you have AOC, you have Mamdani, but Mamdani is still, I would say, center left. I consider him a socialist, but he's still just center left. One of his policies, what he's done with the landlords, suing them and getting damages out of them, that is just making sure landlords follow the law. How is following the law a radical leftist policy? If your landlord is legally not providing you the services you're entitled to, and the state sues them, how is that radical leftism? You want to see radical leftism with landlords? You would take them out in the street and you would, well, I won't say anything more, but to call like these insurgent democratic socialists radical leftists, sure, it might be radical because it might be like new for a lot of America, but they're not even that far left, and they represent a broad interesting electorate to have these more progressive policies. So I don't know. Politico tends to give interesting insights into how these candidates think. They tend to have insider information, but they tend to not be very good with actual analysis. That's what I've found. Anyway, that's it for the politics half of it. I think it'll be only like 10 minutes or so. But let's talk about culture society. So let me copy this link. So I finally saw Obsession. I know I'm seeing it super late, but I finally saw it, and I thought it was so good. It was really, really good. I saw a more pixelated version, almost as if it's a version where someone, recorded it in a theater. Not that I would do that, but almost as if. I thought it was really good, and it just shows how much talent has been locked up in Gen Z, and even, you say like lower income people or people that don't have the capital to make these huge films with these big studios supporting them. And it's really just a great film, and it shows there's so much potential for Gen Z. Also the back rooms, it's so cool. There's so much potential, and I'm so excited to see what happens next. But it produces an interesting thought. It makes me think about applying dialectical materialism to this. There's a concept of the negation of the negation, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around. But it's the idea that history kind of moves in an upward spiral. So if history seems to repeat itself, it's more because it's kind of moving the spiral pattern. If this is like one event, it might, I'll do it forward. It might spiral kind of like this. It might look like it's the same point, but in reality, it's a different thing. Like Trump 2.0. Trump 2.0 is radically different than Trump 1.0. The conditions were different. The policies are different. So it's not history repeating itself. It's changing. It's spiraling. But anyway, I was thinking about this in the context of A24 because there's old Hollywood, right? Old Hollywood had all these established studios, Fox, whatever, and they were commanding the market. And then A24 came along, other smaller studios came along, and they made really great movies. Everything Ever All at Once. Was Get Out A24? I don't think it was. I think Us was. Anyway, they made these great movies and became popular. But then A24 is now mainstream. You can't really call it a small indie studio anymore. They're super, super popular. $3.5 billion. I mean, quite big. And that's 2025. It's probably grown since then. But it's not really a small studio anymore. And so we now have a bigger, more established studio. Just like before we had, we had Fox and then an upward spiral. A24 is becoming a bigger studio. And they have, weird policies about AI, which we'll talk about in a second. Like that means that A24 is becoming more of an establishment. Younger filmmakers like Kane Parsons, Curry Baker, right? Not Curry Barker. Curry Barker, whoops. And Curry Barker is becoming, more popular. So these directors might eventually become the new establishment, and the cycle continues. But it's different. I mean, A24 is radically different than Fox was because A24 gives so much priority to its filmmakers to have their own independence, which is why they create such good films. And YouTubers have, the experience of working in small studios and stuff. And so they'll bring a new perspective to filmmaking if they become the establishment one day. A24's time as the establishment might be coming to an end because of the Google AI collab. If you don't know, they have a collaboration to, I believe it's to use a $75 million investment from Google's DeepMind to use AI tools in film. And I don't really think it's a good idea. Most people don't. Most people hate it. But A24's reasoning for it, if we're to take them at their word, let me share my screen. If we're to take them at their word, A24's reasoning is that, and this is from Shin from A24, who is, so this is from communications at A24, Shin. She said, truth is, we don't necessarily love any of the current AI outputs on screen in Hollywood. I don't even know if ultimately we create tech on that front. This partnership is about learning and helping pain points and workflows behind the scenes more than anything else. It's a lot of corporate talk, I gotta be honest. But I don't know, we'll see. Who knows how it'll come out? I think A24 is a cool studio. I'm not immediately canceling them like some other people are, but I don't think it was necessarily a good move to do it. But time will tell. And maybe from this, a new anti-AI studio will emerge. It'll support workers and filmmakers. And again, we'll have an upward spiral of society again. We'll see. Very curious to see how A24 goes. But speaking of AI, I just have a quick story. So I was using the Google AI overview. I know, not a good idea. Not a good idea. I was using it because I wanted to find out more information on buying an electric car. And so I was using it to research options and stuff and cheaper stuff and whatever. And then I asked it, so what kind of tax breaks can I get? Or what kind of discounts or whatever by buying an electric car? And it's like, oh, you can get a federal EV tax rebate or something like that. A few $1,000s for buying an electric car. And I was like, wait, hold on. Didn't Trump gut that in the One Big Beautiful Ugly Bill whatever act? And then the AI was like, you are absolutely correct. It did gut it. So these are the ones you can do. And I'm like, what's the point? What's the point of having an AI overview that I can use to research if it's going to be wrong, if I had to fact check it? And that's one thing I happen to know about. What if the state level rebates aren't even applicable anymore? What about the stuff I don't know about that I have to look up and then I don't know that it's wrong? I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. And so if I'm using the Google AI overview, it better be correct. And I don't know, maybe the AI nerds will be like, oh, well, it would decrease creativity to have these fact-checking things. I don't care. I don't need a creative answer. Just tell me the answer. So I don't know. I don't want to trust it. I can't trust it because the one thing I knew about with electric vehicle subsidies was wrong in it. I don't know. We are so far from AI becoming actually useful for a lot of things that it's just laughable, and I don't think that we should really take it seriously at all. Sorry, A24. Speaking of laughable things that we shouldn't take seriously, let's talk about Mark Lee from NCT. His name is Mark Lee, right? So he was seen with his Confederate flag in public, which is ridiculous. I completely condemn wearing the Confederate flag, of course. Oh, all these ads. I gotta put ad block on. This is my stream account. It's not my usual account. But the company, after he wore it in public, the company was like, we would like to extend our sincere apologies for the concern, discomfort, and disappointment caused by whatever. They said that the garment had been selected solely as a vintage wardrobe item, and the company later recognized the historical significance and sensitivity of the symbol displayed in the shirt. This guy spent some time in Canada. I don't think I can actually believe that he didn't know what was on a shirt. It's kind of ridiculous. And like, I feel like if you're gonna be like an idol like this, wearing anything in public, you gotta read the text on it first, make sure it's not anything bad, and you gotta see the flags on them and make sure they're not for like horrible racist countries. Maybe that's too high of a standard. I don't know, but this is ridiculous. And I mean, his agency apologized. I don't even know if he apologized. I don't think he should be canceled for it or anything. But it's just ridiculous. How could you not have known this? I don't know. He literally he grew up in Canada? What was it? He's a Canadian rapper and singer based in South Korea. So he is Canadian. He was born in Toronto. Yeah, I don't know. It's ridiculous. Is this mentioned in the t-shirt controversy on June 23rd? Mark drew controversy after photos were posted showing him at a fan event wearing a t-shirt displaying the Confederate battle flag. The photos were deleted We take full responsibility. Yeah, it's interesting the label took the fall, and not him. I don't know, kind of weird. Okay, well, honestly, that's all I had to talk about. That's all I had scheduled for this first episode. I hope it went well. I feel like I was kind of stumbling over my words sometimes. I got a little nervous, but you know, the first 10, 20 episodes are not going to be great. I just got to get through them. Thanks for listening. Let me know if you have any thoughts about it. I really enjoy talking about culture and society and politics. I don't want to just focus on one of them. I think ideally it'd be good to talk about all of them. But that's about it. Let me know your thoughts. Drop a like, drop a comment or something, and I'll see you next time.